Breaking news as hearings regarding the U.S.'s cybersecurity and strategy taking place on Capitol Hill, President Trump quietly signed the long-awaited executive order focusing on strengthening our infrastructure from cyber attacks. When asked how the previous administration had dealt with fighting cyber threats, the person they're putting out there to talk about this, Homeland Security Advisor to the President, Tom Bossert, didn't actually take the bait. Listen.
We have not done the basic block and tackling, right? Of thinking of the internet as something that the American people benefit from. I think what we've done is focus on the federal IT portion of it. I think that a lot of progress was made in the last administration, but not nearly enough. I think we're going to change that. And I think looking at this from the perspective of a deterrent strategy, to be honest, yes. I think the last administration should have done that, had an obligation to do it, and didn't.
Well, yeah, he did actually get very, very focused on the fact that we need to do so much more and that President Obama's administration didn't do enough. Will this order really help strengthen the U.S.'s cyber defenses? We have FireEye CEO Kevin Mandia with us now. We're thrilled to have you here because digital warfare is ramping up.
Right.
This executive order, 3 points to it. Number one, protect federal networks.
Right.
Number two, we've got an antiquated system. And number three, we've got to protect our utilities, our nuclear power plants, and our financial system as well. Will it change anything?
Well, you got to start somewhere, and you're always hopeful it's going to change. And it's been my observation the government is going up and to the right. If you look at the evolution of any government and how it impacts the private sector and cybersecurity, it does have to start with we have to protect our own systems first. Then over time, we have to influence the security of the private sector with threat intelligence sharing, whatever it may be. But the third would be you got to protect critical infrastructure. And under times of duress, you have to be able to have shields up as a nation. And I think this order is going to move towards that.
Okay, we had Andrew McCabe coming out, and I know you did not serve in the FBI, but Andrew McCabe is now the acting FBI director, and he was asked, will you continue looking into things like the Russian hack and any kind of relations with Russian ties to the Trump administration, or at least the campaign? You find all of that through the cyber world. Do you believe Andrew McCabe when he says he's going to pursue this?
Well, I think they are. You know, there's a lot of field offices out there working on this. People want to get it right. And I've always observed, you know, I'm prior law enforcement, so I have a bias here. When you awake the sleeping giant, they get the job done. And I think the FBI, whenever they apply the resources at their disposal and their capability, they can get the job done as they see fit.
Okay, we know at least Chairman Burr of the Senate Intelligence Committee flat out said that it's the same playbook with the U.S. election hacks of the DNC and other things, as well as the French election hack within hours of Election Day in France. They have the same playbook, he said, and he said the Senate Intelligence Committee is on the same page, all of them, both sides of the aisle, that the Russians are at work here. You agree?
Yeah, I do. I think, and by the way, it's not going to stop. When you look at this, the tool in every emerging nation's toolbox now is cyber components and how they can influence both public opinion as well as, with the anonymity of the internet, elections and other things.
You know what? I had an opportunity to ask Bill Gates, who is widely credited with creating, you know, the tools, certainly, that enable people to hack. Listen to what he said when I asked an important question about this very issue.
Cyber is right up there with biological or nuclear is something that you really want the best minds thinking through what your defense system looks like, how you can detect things early on.
Can it be tamed, Bill?
In the sense that you completely get rid of the risk, no.
He said what you just said.
Right.
Really? Nothing we can do in the end that they'll eventually always win?
Persistent hackers are exploiting human trust, not exploiting systems. So until nobody trusts anybody, and that'd be a terrible world to live in, yes, there's always going to be someone that can get sucker punched. So, yeah, I think that, you know, we've known about cancer for 4,000 years. We still haven't found a cure.
I see.
The ties
we've
of cyber,
extended people's lives.
You've got it. With cyber, we can raise the cost of offense, but the asymmetry is there, and the fact that humans are being exploited, their trust is being exploited.
We can see that cybersecurity stocks have moved higher since the election. They're doing terribly today, but that's a lot on Symantec's numbers and all of that. And when I focus on this and I think about the real threat and the danger, could it turn deadly?
I think as you see more of a commingling in technology between physiology and technology, yeah, in the future.
Like
I think
heart pumps and things like that?
everything. You know, there will be a time in our lives where our watch will know we have a medical condition and tell our doctors before we ourselves know. Some wearable device will be informing our caretakers about our conditions.
Yeah, you know what, 2 years ago, right, Brad? My executive producer, Brad Hurst, talked about this. He said, we got to do a piece, and we did. Everybody said we were crazy, that pacemakers could be hacked and people could just die on the street.
Well, I think, first off, there's deterrence to that. No modern nation is going to tolerate a hacker that breaks in and starts killing people.
Dick Cheney was concerned about it.
Yeah. It's the right thing to be concerned about. You know, until you have geopolitical conditions where everybody cooperates, there's safe harbors to do those kind of activities.
But if the Chinese or the Russians want to precisely time hacks, the French did a very good job leading up to close to the election. They could see the digital knocking on their systems and phishing, and what they would do was they recognized it and they would put out false information to try and have them reply so that they could trace them.
Right.
But in the end, they still got hacked. Emmanuel Macron's campaign. So in the end,
I think we're all playing goalie, and a lot of times when the Russian nation comes after you, it's like going against Wayne Gretzky on a penalty shot. They're going to put the puck in the net.
Yeah, well, we need better goalies, I think, when it comes to the wires. But maybe the president's executive order will engender that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz.
Kevin Mandia, real top expert in all of this. He's the CEO of FireEye.